Good afternoon, guests. My name is Will Scott, and it's my thought it was going to be my pleasure to represent the MFA today. It's that traveling summer vacation time of the year, and so our executive director and the head of our exhibitions program, who would normally be making these comments, are both away traveling, and so is almost everybody else on our board. Our juror is Sandra Sider. She is a fiber artist, a critic, and a curator of fiber art exhibitions, and she herself exhibits widely. She is the past president of the Studio Art Quilt Associates. She recently retired after 10 years as curator for the Texas Quilt Museum. She edited Art Quilt Quarterly for 6 years and has published numerous articles and books on fiber and textile art for more than 3 decades. Most recently, fiber art at the 59th Venice Biennale for Fiber Art Now. A studio quilt artist since the late 1970s, she focuses on photographic processes in her work, embellished with surface design techniques, including hand embroidery. Her art quilts have been acquired by several museums and corporate collections. She studied photography and printmaking in workshops at the School of Visual Arts in New York City and the Manhattan Graphics Center, and has an MA in art history from the Institute of Fine Arts, NYU. From 2019 through 2022, she taught the history of textile courses for the MFA Textiles program at Parsons School of Design. And all I can say after reading that is, as a trained art historian, those are the kind of resume accomplishments that would impress me very much. So she's working at the top of her field and being able to spread her accomplishments and interests and encourage other artists through her curatorial and teaching work. So a wonderful choice, and she really, I think the whole exhibit is wonderful, but let's go ahead and look at the prize winners. So the first honorable mention is by Marissa Canino, patron saint of ephemera. I love the work and I love the title. So if Ms. Canino is present, please identify yourself. Okay, I don't see that she is. So we'll move along. As an artist, I know that hearing the juror and hearing the jurors' comments are always very valuable. But as an artist, I know the most important thing is hearing my own name and that I won an award. So I'm going to move right along with that. Another honorable mention goes to Malka Kutnick for Char. And I think I understand what this is, but I hope that she's present and can tell us all how the work was produced. The next award, an honorable mention, goes to Heather McCauley, Black with White and ROYGEIV. I don't know whether that is a material or an acronym.
No, those are colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, something violet.
Yeah, the
indigo.
Yeah, as a photographer, you choose different color. I just didn't recognize them all run together like that. T. Acropyrazidi. And this beautiful ephemeral work is called photosynthesis.
My name is Thea, and last name Okropirice. And I'm so honored to be part of this exhibition with this wonderful group of artists and amazing work I've seen online so far. But it's really big honor. And thank you for choosing my work and giving me some award. And I am, as you know, fiber artist, but I also actually paint and draw and etc. But mostly I concentrate either the silk fusion, whichever I have presented in this exhibition, and or tapestry weaving. And I love both, doing both, but it's completely different because, as you know, tapestry weaving takes like forever to just plan and the paint and then dye the yarn and then have a cartoon in the back, and then you already know what you're weaving, which takes a really long time to complete. And for the silk, it's much spontaneous kind of satisfaction because you don't have a design. At least I don't have a design. I just start with a color scheme or idea what I want to do, and then it kind of floats and just goes naturally. And very rewarding for me to do this kind of work because you can start and finish it pretty quickly compared to the tapestry. So I really enjoy doing it. So how it is done is that I pretty much take silk cocoons, and they need to be degummed to be able to make it into the fiber. And once it's degummed, so you kind of boil cocoons to take the glue out, and becomes like a cotton balls. Once you have that, you need to have it dyed in advance, like you would dye the fabric or the yarn. I have multiple colors dyed. So once I start working on my piece, I am not out of colors wherever I decide to do it. I mean, I use it because you are not painting over or doing anything. It's all dyed in advance. And then you kind of stretch it and layer on top of each other. So you have to have a lot of layers. As you know, silk, when you stretch, it's very, very thin and transparent. And so you have to place on top of each other. And depends if you do wet, you wet it in advance or you use it dry. It has kind of different textures. So based on what you want to achieve, you're trying to do so. And here you are, and there's my work. I wanted to kind of do like in some way decorative, like a still life, and with flowers. That's where the flower name comes from. And to me, it's in some way, it's still like family, like a big jar with kind of kids, to say it, like a family in it, and the small one as well. So it's always has kind of like a double meaning to me.
So essentially, you are producing silk fabric in the traditional way, beginning with the cocoon.
They don't call it as a fabric. It's either silk paper, that's how they call it, or silk fusion. So at the end, it's more like a paper. You don't have a backing or anything. Once it's dry, you just kind of take it off, and it's kind of like a paper. But yeah, I mean, texture, when you look it reminds you more like a felting rather than a fabric because it has a texture and everything, even though it doesn't felt, because silk is kind of a different texture and you cannot felt it as a.
To me, it's almost surreal in its shapes, its biomorphic shapes, its colors that are melding together, and it's very intriguing. Is that part of your intention, or that's my reading of it?
No, I mean, I always kind of try to balance colors out, and I love when it's a little bit blending, and yeah, it's always in my even tapestries. If you look at my own website, I always have that color blending, and I love doing it. And for the silk, I very often add either fabric scrubs just for embellishment. It kind of looks interesting, or some maybe like a jute or the burlap or something. I mean, even feathers sometimes. And I also like reusing materials. So I feel like this way we're at least a little bit saving our world and just trying to use the reclaim materials
Yeah.
as
Well,
well.
it's a beautiful work. I certainly concur with the jurors' selection. And thank you for being present and sharing some thoughts and information about your piece. Mary Jane Svensson, Here Comes the Sun, tapestry, hand woven, hand painted cotton, freehand machine embroidery. Now that's the phrase that has me. Is Mary Jane with us today?
I am. I'm here.
Oh, great. So congratulations on your honorable mention. Tell us more about how your garden inspires you.
Well, this is developed from, I don't know, 15 pictures taken in photographs taken that I've in my garden, and I compile them into one using Photoshop. And it's woven on a jacquard loom. So the jacquard loom has 45 threads per inch. So the photograph is reduced to a resolution of 45. The photograph is then, each pixel on the photograph is a thread. So I put in weave structures using pixels. So there are probably 15 different weave structures that I put into the different areas, and then I weave it, and it was woven in black and white threads. And then I painted the color with fiber paints, and then the rain is stitched on with my sewing machine, just freehand. I know that's hard to visualize, but it's the computer controls how the threads are lifted on the jacquard loom, which is what a jacquard loom is. Thread is individually controlled, and they are lifted up if it's black and down if it's white. And then I throw the shuttle just as you would on a regular mechanical loom and beat it. And so I wove it and then painted it and then stitched on it.
That is a very multifaceted process that you're employing. And to me as a photographer, it's intriguing that if you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have any realization, I don't think, that this involved a photographic process. What is it that you find rewarding about using such a multi-layered process?
It's just fun. I love to weave. I love to see I weave in colors too. There's only so many threads shuttles you want to throw across the loom. So I often weave in 4 colors, but this one I happen to do just in black and white and shades. It's all in shades so that, if you saw it in black and white, it would look like the same textile just without any color. And then I paint the color in according to, and those are authentic butterflies. I just enjoy the whole process, and the painting is fun to add the color, and then I decided it had to rain on this garden.
Well, thank you. It's a beautiful work, and like the others, well deserving of its recognition. All right, now we get to the jurors' choices. We've concluded all of the honorable mentions, and the juror, rather than giving first, second, third, or best in show, has made a number of jurors' choices. So Sarah Evans is the first of the jurors' choice awardees with her felt piece, Blue Earth. I think we all pretty much know what felt is, but it certainly has just a brilliance and intensity of color, which sort of surprises me. Is Sarah present?
I am present.
Great. Well, congratulations. Tell us what you are working with and what you're doing here for the Blue Earth.
Yeah, so this is a wet felt piece. The base, using a base of merino, which is a very fine wool, and then layered in with other fibers, silk thread, silk cocoon. I think some Leicester long wool, which is has a curly lock. So you start with just the roving or fiber, and it's a closed wet felting process with a resist inside. You just work it and shape it, and just made this little basket.
So it
That's
does
kind of
stand on
fun.
its own. It doesn't have to be suspended. You could put it on a flat surface and
Yeah,
it would
yeah,
retain shape.
it's a very thin felt, but it has
Mhm.
enough structural integrity to sit on its own.
Yeah.
But then again, you could just squish it down, and then shape it back up. That's the really fun
Oh.
thing about felt. And you can work, when you work with felt, it can be, you can make it as thick and heavy as you want, or
Mhm.
as fine and thin. So this, it's pretty small. If it were big and this thin, it wouldn't have the structural integrity, would
Mhm.
fall under its own weight.
Yeah, its
But
own weight.
because of the size is probably about maybe a volleyball, if you think of that.
Mm.
If it were much
Mhm.
bigger, you would need to make a thicker felt, to have it be stiff enough to stand up. But and the other fibers are embedded in the felt as you work on it. So it's a fun process. It's a very physical process. It's an inexact science, so you have to have a little bit of an adventuresome outlook that you might not get exactly what you're looking for every time.
Mhm.
And different wools behave in very different ways. So that's also part of the process, is understanding your
Mhm.
material. And wool from one type of sheep is going to behave completely differently than another type of sheep. So it's a lot of fun, and you end up with something that's kind of practical, kind of not, and I like that too.
Given your title, am I correct in thinking that I can vaguely see the outlines of the continents, or the suggestion of uh,
Yeah,
tectonic plates or something?
yeah, or like if you're looking, when the astronauts photograph the Earth from space, and you have you can see the atmosphere, and it's all kind of a little fuzzy, a little cloudy. That was kind of
Mhm.
how it looked to me, I guess.
It's a beautiful blue. And its shape, and knowing what its material is, just feel like I want to reach out and hold it.
Yeah,
Well, it's about
that's what I like about working with wool. It's has a great tactile feel, and it's very durable, and it's just a lot of fun, and you can pick it up, and you can, it's nice.
well deserving its award.
Thank you very
So
much.
this piece, because in my photography, I try to do a lot of street photography. I think this is just a brilliant piece. The subject intrigues me, but the idea that this is a fiber collage, I mean, I could see this hanging in a photo show, and I'd probably have to walk right up to it before I would recognize that it was a fiber collage. So that just shows to me, as someone who's not very um up to speed on fiber arts, how varied and almost limitless the possibilities seem to be in this medium. So this is a beautiful Jurors Choice piece. So Susan Latham, Saltwater Taffy, a little bit like the jazz rhythms, the musical rhythms in the famous Mondrian works, his abstractions like Broadway Boogie Woogie and those sorts of things, but beautifully done. Is Susan present?
I am.
Well, thank you. Welcome and
Thank you.
congratulations.
I'm tremendously honored. I'm just thrilled. Thank you so much.
Hand-dyed cotton and silk. And is this woven, stitched, or tell us a little bit about how it's physically put together, please.
This is essentially a quilt, or it's fabric that is sewn together using quilting techniques. So each individual little piece of or square of color that you see was individually cut and then sewn together on a sewing machine. So it's all pieced on a sewing machine. Some of the pieces are, an eighth of an inch wide, which is quite tricky to do on a sewing machine, but it's all pieced, and then it's layered with batting, and it has a backing, and then quilted like you would a quilt. I think one of the differences is that I then stretch the piece over a canvas. And so it's gallery wrapped around, 48-inch square canvas. So it hangs more like art than a quilt.
So you don't intend these, and it sounds as though they're not even physically possible to be used as a quilt or warmth or as a bed covering. This is art.
Correct. Exactly.
Well, it's certainly beautiful, and the rhythms are just endless and complicated, sort of, as I say, jazz-like almost. Is music any inspiration to you in a work like this, or?
No, the inspiration for this piece and the other piece that's in this exhibit called Light My Fire, it's part of a series that I call Road Trips, and all of the pieces are based on a memory of a road trip that I took as a child. So this is Saltwater Taffy. It's about a trip to the beach that we took when we were kids, and running up the boardwalk and into the little candy shop that and getting the saltwater taffy. So the long blue sort of strips are evocative of the guy in the window pulling the taffy.
Yeah. Well, having worked for a couple of summers on the boardwalk in New Jersey, it makes perfect sense as soon as you said it. Very, very fine work. Congratulations again. This is just tremendously intriguing to me, but it also, you don't want to let me near it because I keep wanting to reach out and put my fingers into that wool. So can you tell us a little bit about the Scorched Grasslands? I can see that it's scorched. It's literally scorched, right?
Yes, it was. It's wet felted wool, and then the lock structure, you use your fingertips to get the wool to felt together so that the locks stay up and don't felt totally in. This is all, despite its different colors, from one sheep, which was just amazing. Then after I built the house, I took it out and I took a little torch to it to get those different colors on it and make it look that way. My good friend's daughter was living in Lahaina, Maui at the time of the big fire. She lost everything. And so I was very focused on listening more about the fire in, there were fires all over last summer. And it seemed like a lot of the fires were due to invasive grass species. So those invasive grasses don't have as deep roots as native grasses, and they're more prone to burning. So that's where my inspiration came from. And if you are in the gallery, go ahead and touch it.
The wool, it certainly conveys the subject, but the wool has such a tactile quality, an appealing quality visually and tactily. Why did you choose wool rather than some other material?
Well, I'm a wet felter now. Once I discovered felting, I never went back to painting. And the thing is that wool doesn't burn, so it's an interesting choice, but most of my work deals with water issues, too much, too little, aridification, flooding. But I'm using wool to represent stones and water most of the time. So my other piece in the show is stones and water.
Oh, well, it's very, it's wonderful. I really find it accomplished and appealing.
All the work in the show, I really appreciate that we can all view the show, whether we're present in Annapolis or not, because the pieces are mind-blowing.
Yeah, they really are. When Redmond, Crown Point, digital fiber collage. So yeah, it looks like there's a photo process, digital fiber collage. I don't know whether there's a photographic process involved, but I love the moodiness, the sort of vaporous quality is looking into the woodlands. So a juror's choice and a beautiful piece. And I'm sorry that the artist isn't present today. So I'm not going to say anything else. I've already probably said more than you wanted to hear. Again, I apologize on behalf of the MFA for the confusion that meant that the juror wasn't present to speak for herself. She certainly did a wonderful job. If not, then I want to thank you all for your attention. It clearly is a show with a very high level of accomplishment. And if you haven't already seen it, it is up for the rest of the month, I guess, or almost the rest of the month. So I hope you'll make it in and you'll continue to follow our exhibition program and participate as you did today. And Julia, thanks for your help. And David, thanks for your suggestion. Well, everybody have a wonderful evening, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.